money to spend my own money to get my first rap CD. Well, not the CD. Tape. You talking about 13 was it? That's 29 years ago. It was Run DMC, Raising Hell was the name of the tape. Not much profanity on it, okay? These guys then were more artists than entertainers, and that's debatable. But it was fairly innocent, except for the title. But what that did, that one decision, was led me to a musical addiction. The last night I had to stop and pray just because I knew Satan was trying to work it because I had to preach today. So it was a song that seemed to have nothing to do with anything, but it sparked the memory of another rhythm. Boom, boom, sidetrack. And I'd have been through it. Brother Brown would tell you, I probably had one of the more vast music collections at one point than anybody in this whole city. And I got to the point where I threw several trash bags of all of that stuff away. I got rid of it all. But you still can't get rid of that rhythm. Some of those words.
Yes,
So
right.
BET don't come on. MTV does not come on. Because I don't want my kids to get grip of that same thing. And then they can't get rid of it. So imagine what life could have been. Some of the decisions that I made could have been different if I had made that right decision. Imagine how much money I could have. I imagine how much money I wasted, how much money I literally just threw in a trash can. Which brings up my next point. If you study the history, he's shaking his head. I got kids who are on the edge of college right now. So I wish I had saved that money. But that brings us to the next thing. If you study the history, I really want the young people to listen to this. If you study the history of the nation of Ephesia, with the Ephesians were into magic, big time. Am I right, Pastor? They had magic books upon books and books, libraries and all this kind of stuff. But when they were converted, you know what they did with all that stuff?
Burn them.
Burned it. Got rid of every single bit because they didn't want those books to become a stumbling block for someone else.
Amen.
That's the same thing for us that we have to do. When we turn our back to it and walk away from it, we got to get rid of it altogether. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. How we treat our bodies is important as well.
Amen.
The standard to treat your body has changed inside the church and almost outside the church. There was a time where everything was vegetarian. Now, at Venice, we vegetarian in meat. I'm guilty of it myself. Not guilty in a bad way, because God says there are clean meats that we can eat.
That's right.
But we find ourselves falling into some same health issues because we continue to eat meat. All right? Because we're not strong enough to turn away. We see people with all kinds of decorations on their body. A woman comes into my job, she's got some piercings like up here or something. But there's some kind of interchangeable type of piercings. They're doing that. Where you can take the jewel out or something, she was saying, and it can be yellow one day, and you can put another color in another day. Things have gone on to a whole new level. So that tattoo might not be that bad of an idea now, if you had to decide. You understand what I'm saying? But what we need to realize is that God calls us to be special.
Amen.
The reason why each and every one of us are sitting here and gathered here is because we have a calling from God. Amen. He wants us to take care of our bodies. All right? He wants us to use our bodies as a temple that He can dwell in. Why is that even important? I'm 42 years old. God still hasn't come yet. You know what I mean? It may be another 42 years before we come back. So what's the big deal? What's the sense of urgency? The sense of urgency is exactly that reason right there. When the prophets wrote their messages in the Bible, they thought that Jesus was upon them at that time.
Yeah.
And God has given us thousands of years of grace to where we are now. He's given me 42 years of grace.
Right.
Might not be 42 more.
Amen.
But he's allowed Satan to prove himself. So as I told you at the beginning, we can't tell who owns this world at times. I can't see my God's creations outside like I should. We can't see people's bodies that were created by God like we should, right? So the responsibility falls upon us today to show the world how Christ intends for it to be. My time is in the middle, at 42. I may have another 42, might not, all right? I may hit 92 like my grandfather and continue to be going strong. I don't know. But what I do know is that at some point, the torch here at Beacon Light is going to have to be passed.
That's right. That's right.
And if it's not passed, what are we just not going to have church? No? Today was a taste of it. We got the bass, the deep voice here, leading out. His parents doing the right thing with him. Let's not to say that nobody else is not. But he may be the next preacher.
Amen.
Naya's leading out. Who knows what's going to be for her next?
Amen.
The young gentleman up here singing, the girls singing. Some of you, I don't even know the talents and skills that you have. But you have to cultivate those things for God.
Amen.
I was a relay runner in school. I ran the medley relay, 400, 800. We did those things. We set records.
All right.
But I had to do my part for my time. And then I had to pass it on.
Right.
Last night, just to get some, help me stay centered. I had to go spend some time with the church historian, my grandfather. You know, and he passed the baton on. Uncle Chess, they passed the baton on. All right?
Amen.
And we ran with it. But the time is now for us to pass the baton on. Nobody here is too young to teach Sabbath school. Nobody's too young to preach. I've seen Layla's age giving the word with power.
Amen. Amen.
So what are we doing to cultivate our youth? I think we have to ask ourselves that question. That's a little bit off the sermon. But I want the youth to ask themselves what you have that you can give God. Maybe it's your voice. Maybe it's just your time. It's your talents. I don't know what it is, you know. But the reason why I'm here today is because my church allowed me, God gave me talents, and my church allowed me to do a lot of things.
Amen.
They allowed me to draw posters and pictures when the church needed. I didn't think I would ever be up front, didn't want to. But that's what happened.
Amen.
What are we cultivating today so that our young people can participate, so that they can grow, and so that they can serve God and be productive? There's one pet peeve I have, you know, from adults. You know, I see some of the errors that I made as a teenager growing up. Maybe sometimes I push things too far. I see some of the errors that, you know, my parents may have made in raising us. And some things, times maybe I take it too far. But people tell me that if I keep my daughters away from certain things, that as soon as they get old enough, they're going to be gone. They're going to be loving this world. I beg to differ. You know, God gave me the responsibility of raising them and guarding their souls. So I gotta take it. Now they'll get to the point where they'll make their own decisions.
That's right.
Just like the 3 Hebrew boys had to make their own decisions.
Amen. They did.
But we cannot let our guard down today and compromise so that our children can go on to see us with shaky values.
Amen. That's right. Let's do it.
I mentioned that we're at war. We're at war.
What did you say?
Their war is going to be even harder. There's a video circulating on the internet right now, and that video is talking about how all of these churches are unifying together. I don't know if any of y'all have seen that. It's kind of stuff you got to use YouTube and all of that for, right? We're going to let you know where that is. And the Pope sends them a letter that he's supporting their unification. This is what the Bible tells us is going to happen in the last days. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen in a few years. But guess what? For our young people now, they're going to be caught up in a heap with that. And we're talking about jobs. We're talking about persecution. We're talking about things that, guess what? I've been around long enough I can deal with it. But can they? So that's what I want to talk to you about this morning. You all are about to be faced with some of the realest decisions that you'll ever face. God has given you power. Every time you make a wrong decision, you give Satan a little more of that power. But I'm telling you right now that you don't have to make any bad decisions, because there's a God who's in heaven right now, as we talked about earlier. He's not just listening, but he's active. Okay? He's active and he wants to help you make it through. But you gotta call on him. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. I've been through it all. A 7-day Adventist in the public school system.
All right.
It's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
So I told you, I had to run hard when I ran track just because there were no county championships for me. Okay? There were no state championships for me. It was whatever I could get in between Monday and sunset on Friday.
All right.
So between that time, I was going to tear you up.
All right.
All right? But you had to face a lot for that. And we had a coach, here we go, Ron. You'll produce, but we can't depend on you to get in the championships. That plays on you. You know what I mean? We used to have this old white Ford church van. We used to ride around town on Saturdays. Only one that rode around town on Saturdays. And man, the kids used to tease me all kinds of ways because my daddy was the bus driver. I suffered painful butt whippings by 2 to 3 people at one time sometimes, just because I was different, going to school with them. But you know what happens when you stick through, when you go through all that? You have experiences with my friend who I ran into yesterday, who for some reason became one of my protectors. I didn't always need it. I just want to let y'all know that. Well, when I was over there in Tyler Heights, man, I suffered some unrighteous butt whippings. Right?
Strange place.
From that time period where you can get beat up, you're going to get beat up twice. Because my daddy would say, ain't no fighting in school. Alright? No fighting, period. But if you do fight and you lose, he gonna whip you behind too. So you get it double time. So that was tough. I didn't win my first fight till the 4th grade. You know what I mean? And I wasn't even fighting for myself, I was fighting for somebody else. You know? But the point that I'm trying to make is that to be different, you It's not going to be easy.
Amen.
You know, I was telling you about a friend of mine yesterday. Got into a fight as a grown man. I'm really ashamed to tell y'all this story. It's like 26, 27 with that guy. And this dude was my protector. You know why? You can't harm Urian. Urian good people. It's church people. You know what I mean? He wound up beating a guy up so bad that he would hit me at the same time. I said, I couldn't tell who you were trying to beat up. Me or them? Or the other guy? They said, well, you should have moved out the way. But this is the point. We sacrifice our values, what we have, so that we can be accepted. Johnny mentioned in Sabbath school this morning that people watch every single move that we do. But when we hold on to those values, people love you and respect you even more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Amen.
So my challenge to the young people today is take that stand. If you haven't taken that 100%, take it now. What Satan has done is he's filled this world with all these little treats and temptations to give us shortcuts around things that we know to be bad. So you don't have marijuana now, but you got synthetic marijuana. Synthetic marijuana will zap your brain out worse than regular marijuana does. So yeah, you guys are faced with the same temptation that I was faced with. But in some ways, it's more dangerous. One wrong hit from synthetic marijuana, your life would never be the same. You know, life would never be the same again. So God is asking us right now, today, I want to see y'all be in my shoes one day, where you can stand here and your children can be active in church.
Amen.
Where you can